bigger word. That's like mayonnaise. I'm sure that's a bigger word I know.
Hello, everyone, and welcome on into Cover 2 College Football Player Props with Chris Day, none other than our great Chris Day here. Chris, absolutely fantastic work by Justin on the face swap this week.
You can't even get mad at it.
No.
Legitimately, I'm just like, you know what? Like, it was so perfectly well done that I just can't get mad at it.
Yep. We're going to have some great player props today. Of course, we were gone last week. You just slacking. That's just, let's be honest with people.
I was on a week-long bender. I had to survive and get back up.
Yeah, Thanksgiving bender. Your family didn't see you for days. No one had any idea where you were.
Sometimes you got to do it, and sometimes it happens during the holidays. It just is what it is.
Yep. You never know when you're just entering your Hunter Biden era,
Nobody's going to pardon me, though, so unfortunately.
We'll see. We're still in talks. We're still in talks for it. All right, Chris, we are on to conference championship week here, and then we are going to be back for some of the bowl games and stuff, but we do have some housekeeping to bring to the people before we get started here, because I want to remind you guys. Chris Mox is saying witness protection after betting another Ginty receiving over. We have something far worse in store for you today.
Far worse.
Do not worry. Far worse. But I do want to remind everybody, our Cyber Monday sale has extended all week here. This is the time to grab 40% off of Unabated Premium. Hey, it's a whole year of Unabated Premium for $13.88. That's the best price you're going to get all year. And as Jack has said, let's face it, that price, you're probably not going to see a price that good again. I'm just saying.
Price increases happen, man. It's price increases. We're doing price increases at work, so sometimes you save even more just by locking in the price.
Yeah. And to be clear, this is not the official announcement of an unabated price increase, but I'm just saying a year's a long time. That $13.88 deal is going to get you set up quite nicely. Even if you are already a member, we thank you very much for being one. And, hey, you can still tack on more. It's not just you're going to get a new year from this point. It's whatever you have left in your membership, you're going to get this added on after that. So it's not like you're losing any time over anything you already paid here. It's a very plus EV move. And speaking of plus EV moves, Chris, I have a great story for you. You already know, but the people don't, from last week. Okay. We had no show, but but I've got a funny story for the folks at home here, because you see, the account that I use on our projections here, this is my demo account. This is the account that I don't have it set to any of my personal settings or anything, but it's also not an admin account. The account that I use when I'm betting is an admin account, which means up here where it says unabated concierge, I also have one that says unabated internal projections. And so last week, I'm sitting there. It's Friday. I'm getting ready. I'm out in California. I was in Lake Tahoe last weekend. I'm on the Prize Picks Express, and I'm like, okay, we're building some 6-teamers here. And I go into the DFS Pick'em tool, our fantastic DFS Pick'em tool that we have right here. I load up some Prize Picks, and I head over to the NCAA screen here, and it tells me, oh, there's nothing in the concierge projections. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll just use the, I didn't get Chris. Every week for us, Chris sends me the numbers that we use for this show, because they're not the official released ones.
Like,
maybe I'll take a look at the internal projections and grab some of the ones that, maybe we weren't confident enough to release, but maybe there's something good there. Chris, I went 6 for 6. Cash the ticket. $50 turned into $1,000. I am riding high. And then I go into our Discord and I say, hey, college football team, thank you guys so much for the great projections. Absolutely hit this banger this week. And Ben just says, where the fuck did you
I saw it. I'm like we didn't even touch Missouri. We didn't touch Arkansas. Some of these teams, I'm like, did Tom just use the internal? For those that know, internal just holds every single team and player period that pops up. So even if we had all the time in the world, we couldn't get to every single prop that posts. So we sync the ones that we want from internal to the true concierge and premium section. So Tom's just winging it with random numbers.
Yes, literally random numbers. Not like, projections we didn't feel confident in releasing. Just random numbers on a spreadsheet.
The numbers that we have, so for Missouri, if we hadn't touched Missouri in a month, you'd be using a month old Missouri data.
Yep.
So anything could happen. It was truly incredible. I looked at the numbers and I was like, some of these, like, I think probably like made sense, but you know, sometimes you just get a little lucky. But hey, one in Tahoe.
Yep, it was incredible. Hit like 6 random coin flips in a row. You're not going to beat that. So we are riding high going into this week's show here, ladies and gentlemen. And Chris, we have 7 teams that we're going to talk about today. Like we said, we'll also be back for bowl games. We're going to work out that schedule. Stay tuned in the Unabated Discord. We will be figuring that out. Ian saying sports betting takes skill. Exactly. That's the funniest part of this. I haven't hit one of those in months. Tom, hold my beer. Like I haven't hit I haven't been playing a lot of Prize Picks, but it was just absolutely peculiarity. And then to follow it up, I went 5 of 6 on an NFL one from the Blitz where I used the actual numbers, and it was a brutal beat. I shot White under, and the Panthers went to overtime.
And then they got it on one of those long runs, right?
Yep,
tough shape.
Yep, but hey, can't be that mad about that when I hit a 6-team luck box like that.
Yeah, you're gonna get hurt on something so unlucky at some point. So it all comes around to an extent. So, but I'm glad that it won for you. I'm glad that it worked out. Red hit 6 times in a row. I love it.
Yep. Hey, happens once in a while. All right, Chris. 7 teams today. Are we going to get started with UNLV and just lead off the top going into this Genty number, or what are we doing?
With the team that we always end up doing. So just so everybody knows, we're going to look at Friday teams and then teams that we're not syncing on Saturday. With such a limited amount of games, we didn't want to take too much away from subscribers. Got to talk about something, though. So there's a limited amount of action. We're going to sync a lot of the different, I think it's like 15 of the 20 teams or 15 of the 18 teams. So lots of stuff there for the subscribers. But yeah, let's start with UNLV Boise. It's the game of the night. Basically a college football playoff play-in game. So this should be a fun one. We could start in the passing attack here. We're going to get some smaller edges here with like Hodge right at 5%. That one's moving around a little bit, like kind of back and forth.
Yeah, you can see it like that underdog number's at 190, and then there's no real other edge on the numbers you can actually go and bet that are down at 185, 183.
Yeah, so you know, if you're on underdog, that's not a bad play. It's not one that I'm like banging the drum for. It makes sense. We like a Ricky White over 5.5 receptions on underdog. So you could kind of boost that payout if you did want to do that, which would be potentially fun. But Maddox Madsen, you know, the baselines really point towards them passing. I can get the exact number here, but we're not going to like GT. But if you looked at like the last game and what happened, right? Like they just did a great job. UNLV did a great job against GT. We've seen a lot of teams force GT to beat them and putting a bunch of different guys in the box and stopping them that way. And then letting Madsen try to beat him, I should say, not GT. And Madsen's been good at, like, as long as it hasn't been a blowout or, you know, this big game where they're just leading by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Like, he's looked good. He has multiple receivers that play well in the offense, tight end that's viable. So he's got the weapons around him to support like an over of 205. That's really not a huge number, and he's blown past that a couple times on the season. Yeah.
And like you said, like the pass defense, I mean, I watched Kyle McCord. Boom. Kyle McCord threw on everybody this year, but the pass defense is a little bit suspect for UNLV. Although shout out to them. The reason they're always the Friday night game is because they're like, hey, Fox wants us on. We're not getting on this big network on Saturday. Let's do it.
Make some money somehow. Yeah.
Michael Zimmerman wants to know, is 219.5 and a void? That's a little bit large. You're not really seeing a great edge when it comes to FanDuel. That's at 216.5, and Bet Online there with the 219.5 at 2.46. I'm not loving that. What about you?
Yeah, I don't love that one. I would try to see if something moves before hitting that. I think we have enough stuff going on tonight and tomorrow to avoid it. If you liked it as kind of like a vibe play, plus technically the numbers support it, you could do it. To give you an idea, when they played, Boise State won 29-24 maybe 6 weeks ago, and he was 18 of 33 for 209. So like you would have been really sweating that one. We see you would have been over, which would have been good on the 205, but you wouldn't have made it on even the 216. So, I mean, total vibe play. If you truly think that they go crazy on the passing attack, then 219 is fine. But I personally would avoid it unless I can get it closer to like that 210, 212, 213 type.
Yeah, that's just not quite as you're seeing with the math there, not quite there.
Yeah.
All right, how about the receiving game here? I know you were talking about on another show the other day. You were talking about DeJesus a little bit.
DeJesus, yeah. These are all slight technically, right, we have 36.7 for DeJesus, but the way the simulator is running and how often it hits over or under, it's just hard to get there for an over. I've done some thinking since the last show, specifically on like Arizona State, which we'll get to, but if we would have liked the over, it would have been barely. I think you avoid like the DeJesus, this Belungai line popped up. If you're for some reason fiending for a tight end bet, this is the guy that gets 1 or 2 targets, and you just hope they're not longer passes, or you hope it's like a 4-yard touchdown catch type of thing. Mm-hmm. So beware on him. The most intriguing of the bunch, and hopefully we can go to receptions if you don't mind. If the most intriguing of the bunch is probably like the Ricky White receptions, if it's still up. On Underdog, it was like 5.5. We see Ricky White here. Yeah, 5.5 on Underdog. I wouldn't touch it at the 6.5 like we see on FanDuel, like it shows. But if you get a 5.5 number, even like if there's a 6 for some reason, like those are good. Those are good numbers for me to go over on. He's going to get like 8 to 10 targets. They're not the easiest of targets, right? Like these are real routes downfield sometimes. So he doesn't get fed with like short 2-yard routes all that often. But yeah, I like the Ricky White over receptions if you're on the Underdog, or if something pops up is closer to game time.
But what you're also telling us here, just to be completely clear, Chris, is don't mess with the Jesus.
No, yeah. We try not to, so I would avoid, even on a Friday night when there's debauchery at these games. But there are a lot of different reception lines. We got Fliff on here, which has been fun in the Discord to see some different Fliff lines come out and share. Louder, good tight end, 3.5 at plus money is a good line though. You see like Cameron Camper. We like his over for yards and his under for receptions. He's just a little bit more of a bigger play type receiver. Like he'll probably end 4 for 60, 5 for 75 type. So it'll teeter on that line of 4.5. And then you see DeJesus, right? Now that 2.5 at plus 120 to me is really, really good. If you can get that right now, like he's going to get a bunch of targets. I want to say he had 7 targets last week and 1 target the week before that, and then 6 the week before that. The caveat to that is the week where he got 1 target was the San Jose State game where we talked about the bad weather. It's horrible, and all UNLV did was run. So the Jesus is the guy that gets the easier targets. He gets the running plays. Over 2.5 to me is a really, really good line to hit if you can bet that on Fliff.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, as Captain Jack likes to say, Fliff, if you know when it comes to Fliff, they deal some terrible lines, but there's also some great ways to take advantage of them. All right. It is time for the marquee market here that everybody's waiting for. Let's talk about Ashton Jeanty rushing yards.
Yeah, so this feels gross.
Jesus, it's at 170.
Yeah, this feels gross. It's lower than it has been, right? Like we've talked about it. It was like $196, 198, 192. It's actually, lower than that. And we still really like the under. Like talking to Ben, creating the Boise State projections, he just we have him in the 70s for percentage of carries. And we might be a tad aggressive. It's just a matter of we even have him at 7.5 yards per carry, which is fairly on par for his season. If you can get the under 174-ish, 170, even 165.5 on Fanatics or something like that, I think that's a good number. I want to say he ran for 128 on 33 carries against them in that last matchup, 3.9 yards per carry. He was really bottled up. I think that was the game also where he hurt his arm, but I mean, it's his arm. He's fine. In terms of effectiveness standpoint, it's not really going to impact him that much. But yeah, I mean, if you can, it's scary, but if you look at the last month, he hasn't been as unstoppable as the first, 7 to 8 games.
I mean, it's almost like running for that many yards is very hard to do and is very hard on your body.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. And it adds up. He's got 312 carries already. So, he's had 30 plus carries in 5 of his last 6. 5 of his last 6. He's broken 170 twice. So, I get it, right? There's reason to be worried about betting under on GT, but we like unders. He's been heavily used. Everybody knows what Boise wants to do, and that's run GT. So, UNLV's got to be prepared for it. So, we even have him at 29 attempts. It's hard to it's hard to hate on, unfortunately. The math is the math.
Yep. So there you have it, guys. We're going to be riding that. That's going to be the one that we're looking for tonight because Chris, if he goes over, Discord's going to be hating on you.
Yeah, we're hearing it. That's fine. It comes with the territory, with
Nathaniel Pucci asks, will they push him for the Heisman race? It's a good question. And, we'll talk about that as well as to which one you think should win the Heisman, Chris. But I don't think that they're going to care as much about stats as they are about winning the game.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue that they've been pushing him to win the Heisman for months, right? He's gotten 30-plus carries in 5 of the last 6. Like, how many running backs are getting 30-plus carries in a game? So, and we have him at about that number. So, yeah, I think they continue to ride him as much as they can. But, if he's ineffective, he's ineffective from like a G&T standpoint, not from like a normal running back standpoint.
Yeah. Who do you give the Heisman to?
I've started to trend more towards G&T, but I think it's Hunter. Mm-hmm. Let me rephrase this. Hunter's going to win. I don't see a world where he doesn't win. But in who I believe should win, the guy plays a great cornerback and plays a great receiver. Like, it's just kind of hard. I will say, kind of the whole, the game a couple weeks ago where maybe it was Oklahoma State, right, last week, where they kind of just gave him touches to give him touches in a huge blowout's kind of lame. And then them sending the Heisman package to voters is lame.
Yeah.
But to me, he's the guy. I mean, what do you think?
I think that they should give it to the guy who made the most difference. Like, Colorado's not making the playoff. Genty, yeah, sure. Like, this team might get in, but I want to give it to a guy who did something like go out and beat really good teams and went out and led the nation in passing. Kyle McCord for Heisman.
Yeah, I was like, he's trending this way, isn't he?
Yeah.
I can't believe he led the country in passing.
Yeah.
You could have given me 50 guesses. I wouldn't have gone Kyle McCord. Before
I really wish that I had bet him to do that, but
no one saw that coming. It was fun. Why you've joked about it, and I kind of teased it on the in the tweet, the X tweet. Why do you give me a reason why Syracuse should make the playoff?
Well, first off, we beat Miami last week. It's a 9-3 record. However, if UNLV wins this game tonight, we have head-to-head wins against potentially 2 teams that are in the playoff. Indiana, you're telling me Indiana belongs in, but we don't have just as good a resume. We at least actually beat top 25 teams. If you're gonna put someone in there, hey, I paid a damn lot of money in tuition. I see you there, Justin. I paid a damn lot of money in tuition. You're goddamn right. It's a we. My money is still funding this program.
Yeah,
okay?
It's still going there. Same here for tech. So I'm with you. What I think your argument should be more towards against the SEC teams. Who are the losses for Syracuse?
What?
Who did Syracuse lose to is the question.
Yeah, that's the thing. The Stanford game is a very bad blow on the resume. If they win the Stanford game, they're in the ACC championship against SMU this week. That's just math. Yeah. That's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
That was the bad loss, and then we lost to Pitt, and Boston College was not good.
Yeah, that's your problem. I think you have a couple good wins, and you've played it. It was at UNLV, right? When you played UNLV, yep. Tough matchup, and you came away victorious, correct? Beat Miami. I don't know.
Beat Georgia Tech.
We've talked about this. We love Fran Brown. Props to that guy. So you guys got a good trajectory here, and I also love the fact that he's like, Dabo, I got you in.
Yeah. I'm excited about the transfer portal possibilities. The guy from Liberty, Sider, is that his name?
Kadon Salter. Yeah.
Salter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should know better. He's been my quarterback as I'm trying to beat Bama all these weeks.
He's your guy trying to beat Bama. We're still doing it. Week 15, essentially.
We are in fact still trying to do it. Every so often I pick up the controller again. I'm like, all right, we're going through this game. I'm so close, Chris. I came so close this week.
There is one final play in this game that I think is worthy, and I think it's kind of scary because you'll look at the game log and you'll see him run for $130 and $135. But if you think about it, the usage is correct. The reason why I think you can kind of say don't game log watch, which I think everybody here understands, you can't just go off the game log, is we have him at about 40% of rushing carries for UNLV, which is what he had against San Jose State, except they just ran it 65 times. and then against Nevada. So we had the usage right, but he ran for 9 yards a carry. So, if you think that Jaden Thomas is going to run for 9 yards a carry, you shouldn't bet the under on this. But if you think that you should bet his typical season-long or career-long yards per carry, then this is the baselines and everything line up to being an under. I saw it move a little bit on FanDuel. I think some people saw it in attacks, which is great. Yeah, I think it might have been even at like 68.5, 69.5, and those are all strong numbers. But yeah, they're gonna continue to use multiple backs, and I think at 40% rush usage, and he's an under still. That's a strong under for me.
Mm-hmm. All right. I mean, hey, this could be one of those games where UNLV does have to throw the ball more, not to mention the fact that Haj Malik Williams can get around and run the ball himself. He's going to eat into the carries.
Yeah, he's a great runner. I believe one of the more recent games, he ran like 18 times to Jane Thomas's 7 or 8, right? So like he's going to get a heavy amount of usage. 70.5 on Fliff, yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great option, obviously. So yeah, if you're not on Fliff, man, I don't do Fliff because I'm sketched out being in Georgia, but
you should you should absolutely be doing Fliff if you're in Georgia.
I deposited and I tried to deposit and they said, yo, you can't deposit in Georgia. And then it like X'd out and then I deposited and it let me. So I don't know. Maybe
it might just, I don't know. Look, I'd look into it. That 70.5 line is also there at Fanatics for the people that can get down more than $5 at Fanatics. I think there's 2 of you out there.
Hey, it's like how you eat an elephant, right? Like one bite at a time. Take that $5 bet, take the $5 profit and then continue to move on to the next book.
Yep.
If you have the time, right?
Yeah.
We have 2 other games. The only other game that we're doing the full entirety of it is Western Kentucky and Jacksonville State. So let's look at Western Kentucky and start in the passing, if you don't mind, Tom.
Just elite helmet game.
Elite helmet game. They do some great stuff with their mascot. But Belt Camp. So this is an interesting one. This line's actually moved from like mid to high 270s, I think. And it's been moving down. The thing here is that they just played last week in a game that mattered. And they ran something like low 80s, 82 or 84 plays, which is by far a season high for them. I think previously their high was 71 or 72. I think the books came out and saw what he did against them last week, which was an impressive performance. I want to say he threw in the 300s. But again, if you're looking at a small sample versus what you are projecting for a full season, they're not running mid 80s, and if that's the case, then that 267, what it was earlier in the week in the 270s is just too much. So we like the under here, and subsequently we like unders on a bunch of the receivers as well.
Oh, now Justin's onto the Wii school bandwagon here.
Is Justin a game? Is he a Hilltopper?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that. Why is he hiding?
You're on screen, Justin. You're on with us here. Look, Dietz.
You're muted. Who is your quarterback? If you went there, who was your quarterback while you were there?
You're still muted.
There we go.
No, you're not.
He actually was in the league for a little bit. He was a backup. What was his name? Gosh, I'm gonna have to Google this real quick.
Do you want to age yourself and tell us how old what years you were there?
Yeah, I graduated 2020.
Okay.
2015, 2020. Spent an extra semester.
Ooh, you had some.
Age yourself. He's younger than me.
Tyrell Pigrome, but Ty Story was there. You had some interesting guys.
K1 Taylor was there. Wide receiver. Yeah. He played for the Titans for a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, Max Parker said, was it Bailey Zappi?
No, Zappi might have been there the very.
Collins guy, Mike White, the GOAT.
Mike White is who it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you not remember the GOAT?
I think he's still in the league.
Yeah, he is. He's with the Dolphins now, or no, he's with the Bills now.
Yeah, you were 1 year away from Zappi. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
But that's cool. Western Kentucky's like a fun G5 team to be a fan of, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They've had some fun years.
And good underrated basketball school, too. Charles Bassey was there. He plays for the Spurs now. Underrated school for sports.
Yeah. And again, elite jersey game, elite mascot.
Helmet game is strong, too.
Yep.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with it.
Basketball died so that Syracuse football may live.
Yes, they did. Unfortunately for you.
All right. Anyway, we're gonna head back onto it. But Justin, thank you so much for coming on. And
great.
now you're on the Wii train with us.
Yeah. We go Tops.
All right, Chris, let's get back to it here. Veltkamp, we've been looking at the under here. Do you want to move on, or are we sticking on this one for a second? Do you have more?
I think we can go the receiving piece to this. It just lines up with what we said about the passing game, right? Which is that we like the unders because we don't see them playing, running the same amount of plays as last time. Eastern Messer is the gritty, hard-nosed, understands the playbook slot receiver for them. He's really kind of like a receiver 2/3 maybe. Noah Myers is the tight end. Let's see, is he listed on this? Yeah, he's in the middle here. Big edge. This is your warning of volatile projection. He's starting. He has started in the last month. He's seen like 6 total targets. He's projected for 3 or 4% of targets. It just is a matter of like, does he catch the one pass and how long is it? So beware on that one. But technically speaking, it's the correct projection. It's just going to be really volatile for you. Keshawn Johnson, 60.5. That's a pretty strong number. 67.5 on FanDuel. Like that under a little bit.
Is he related to Keyshawn?
I don't think so. Unfortunately, no. And you can imagine Keyshawn Johnson's kid's not going to Western Kentucky.
Also true.
Too much pride in that family to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, looking across the board on these Western Kentucky guys, the unders make sense. The play counts are just drastically different than I think what books are considering versus what we have. Keshawn Johnson, I like, I don't love. If people ask me in Discord, what do you think of this? I'd say I like, I don't love. Easton Messer is the guy I like a good bit more. So if you're going to try to pick one of them, I would do that. And Noah Myers, if you're into that type of thing, you could go under on that 18.5, and it wouldn't be the worst bet. It's just going to be, you're just going to be puckered a little bit for 3.5 hours. If that's what you want to do. It's not
I mean, you got to look for it, especially one of the things to look for on these. And if you're trying to say, Chris, Tom, how do I tell if a bet is one of these higher volatility plays that I need to watch out for? Take a look at Noah Myers' reception number there. It's just at 1. And that's usually a good indication here. Same thing with Brock down there, Brock Rechsteiner. And when you've got lower reception markets like that, that means that you're going to have a more volatile play. We're projecting him to only have a couple of targets and 1 possible catch here. You're basically hinging it all on one coin flip there.
What that one play is, right?
What
that one play is like,
yeah.
Does he catch it? Is it a post route or is it a tight end screen? There's a lot of variables in play that make it risky. Another way to think about it is just like, anytime you see a running back or a tight end receiving yard line, it's going to be volatile because it's probably between 4.5 and 21.5 yards. Yeah. Anytime you get those small numbers, it's because they're going to only see like 2 or 3 targets, right? And they're not awful bets. They're just going to be risky. They're just going to be volatile. If you live off of those, you're going to live a wild ride and probably be coin flipping the entire time.
The lone exception is Samaje Perine receiving overs.
Is that like a big one? You're big on that one?
I absolutely that Chris. I talk about it a lot on the NFL on the Blitz with Derek coming up in half an hour here. That was free money for me all season. I think I lost it once.
That's awesome. It's funny when things happen like that. Devonta Smith for Alabama was like printing cash back in 2020 or 2021 with like Glenn, Ben, and I playing DFS, but those were the days. Looking at Jacksonville State, if I would just be a little bit worried, I wouldn't say worrisome, but I'd be monitoring the news with this. We're fairly sure Tyler Huff, the quarterback, plays. He is a true, like a real quarterback. He can throw the football. He's a better runner than thrower. He's not going to throw as well as Veltkamp, but he's serviceable. He tweaked his ankle. He was limited in practice. If he were to not play, a guy named Logan Smothers would play. And that is like a running back at quarterback. So any of these overs, like on Cam Vaughn, Rex Steiner, those are all in question. So monitor the news. We believe Huff plays, but if for some reason he doesn't, these overs, even at like 28.5 yards for Cam Vaughn, become risky because Logan Smothers is just not a thrower by any means.
Yeah.
So beware of that one. Yeah, I think we're fine, but I would be crazy not to tell you.
Right.
And then finally, rushing yards. Trey Stewart's been awesome. Came out of nowhere. Jacksonville State loves to run the football. They're not like a 90% run team or anything, but like it's Rich Rod, right? He loves to run the football. Mm-hmm. Gets rushing production. That's why you see a 106 line still liking it over. Has had some huge games this year. Good bet. Not my favorite of the day, but it's definitely one that I personally would hit myself. So 13% feels like a pretty true edge if you can get it at that like 106.5.
Mm-hmm. All right. Next game up for us here. We've still got a couple more teams that we want to work our way through. Where are we going here, Chris?
Let's look at Tulane Army. So maybe just type in Army and let's rock and roll. It was last week. It was Thanksgiving. We gave out some Thanksgiving Day plays in the Discord. Went 3-1, I think. Darian Mensah over was one of them.
Nice.
Looked great. He cleared it. I want to say early in the third quarter, which was fun. Like it again. It's not the biggest of edge, but 5 to 8%. It's something I would bet for sure. And in play, Army is one of the hardest teams to figure out. We're not sinking them, so we don't have to worry about Bryson. I wouldn't touch the Bryson Daly 0.4% edge. So I would avoid that. If you want to look at receiving yards, we can look at Tulane and see if anything pops up in that market. I'm not off the top of my head. I'm not aware.
I mean, if you're taking an Army passing over, it's time to call the number.
It truly is, like the Michael Jordan meme comes up. Stop it, get help.
Yep.
Not surprisingly, we like the overs with the passing game. They use basically 2 to 3 guys in the tight end. So this is a little bit different than like Texas or Arizona State, which we'll talk about here shortly. They're going to use Fleming, Mario Williams, Bauman's the tight end, Yo Keith Brown's the other receiver. Bauman I would avoid. That's that small 12.5 number. But Fleming at over 30.5, Mario Williams at over 47.5. Those are good plays. Mario Williams is kind of that. I mean, he's the USC transfer, came out of high school, highly touted, transfers down to G5. He's a great player for the league, right, for G5. And he's had some good games, big play type guy. So I like that one there. And obviously Fleming as well. If you want to go to rushing, we can wrap up.
Also, just on that note, really impressive to go from. I didn't know he had eligibility left after playing all those years at DN for the Texans.
That guy was awesome back in the day. That was the same class as Reggie Bush, wasn't it? Wasn't he? Didn't they go 1 and 2?
Yeah,
that was great. Those are great options back then. Where did Mario Williams go to college? Do you remember?
Oh man, I do not remember, but I know Colin's about to be in the chat saying it.
Thankfully Colin's got our back. I can't remember where Mario Williams went.
Yeah, and a good point here from Colin. John Summerall teams the last 3 games against triple option teams, 9 total points conceded. This might be one to go and bet an under on.
I mean, Summerall's a great defensive mind for them. We do have an edge here on Kanye Udo unders. They have been going crazy since Bryson Daly. In the last about month, he came back from injury, and then some of those games before, they have just hammered Bryson Daly, the quarterback. Mm-hmm. Mario Williams, NC State, very nice. Yep. Yeah, now it makes sense.
Shout out to Taylor Holt as well.
Yep, Taylor, good job. So what's happened is Kanye Udo's kind of taken a back seat to Daly. When your quarterback's running it between 30 and 40 times, there's only a certain amount of runs that your running back can have. So if you believe that Daly is going to continue to get 30 to 40 carries, like he has 5 of the last 6 games, that's like 70% usage, by the way, to get there. That's a very atypical. Then, Kanye Udo unders make sense. If you think that maybe it's closer to like a more even split, then I would avoid that Udo line. Instead, maybe look at Mekhi Hughes overs. He got stuffed pretty. He had a tough game last week against Memphis on Thanksgiving. Did not perform well on the run game, but over the full season, he's been super consistent. And we like the over of 85.5, 90.5 on BetMGM, and 88.5 on FanDuel is a good number. So he's going to get 20 carries plus. He's a really good college running back. And so, yeah, that I'm not intimidated by like an 88.5 line, even against Army, who loves to control the football.
I'm a little bit worried because I do have an Army 2-1 money line ticket on this game.
Really?
Yeah.
That's who can't not root for Army? That's just a fun team to root for.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you not, right? Triple option, cool, random shit. Like, let's do it. But Tulane is one of the best G5 teams, so that'll be a tough matchup.
Yeah, we will see. We will see what happens, but it'll surely be a good game. Max Parker saying looks like Bet Online took down that Hughes line, so we've already hit them there.
Oh boy. Well, that's why we watch the show. We hit it and then move on to the next one.
Exactly. And as we go on to the next one here, Chris, where are we headed?
Arizona State. So this is a tomorrow game, a Saturday game. The reason why is honestly, we just cannot truly figure out confidently what the receiver group is going to do. Jordan Tyson, a guy that's like the Ricky White of Arizona State, 45 to 50% of target type thing. And he's been incredible for them, especially over the last month. He injured his shoulder, and so now he's not playing, obviously, rest of season. And it's just hard to project who's next. There's not really been any receiver that's popped up and like proven to be a guy at any point. And they've even, if you've been following Colin in the Unabated News, Troy Amire out of nowhere is like getting first team reps. Malik McClain, who is redshirting, has gotten reps with the 1s and 2s. Like, there's just a lot of names in the mix. So anytime your quarterback's missing his best receiver and he's not a high volume quarterback, you like the under. If you click on one of these line movements here, this was like at 208, 209, I think, to start the week. And it's been moving downwards. So
do you think ESPN bet put up the wrong line here at the start?
It's covered by my face. Well,
yeah,
224 at plus money. Wow.
I just maybe slightly off there.
Oh, 224 minus 165. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, even then, 199 at 107 is interesting. Yeah, when you're missing your best receiver, like he's clearly the best receiver, and they don't really throw it to anybody else, it makes you worry. Like, what are they actually? Who are they actually going to throw to?
Yeah.
So if you look at the receivers, and if you were the two people that watched me yesterday on the other show I did this week, I talked about how I think a couple of the guys could go over. The more I dug into it, man, there's just so many names that are in the mix, and it's hard to assume that one of them gets those get that usage. Mm-hmm. So like Guillory and Stovall are the presumed receiver ones, essentially, like guys that could do it. But Stovall plays slot, which is not what Tyson was playing. And Guillory has been basically healthy the whole season and has not done much. So it's like, do we really believe at 42.5 that he's going to go over? That's kind of a leap. Mateer's tight end, good tight end. But does Tyson give up a bunch of targets? Like, is his injury going to lead to a bunch more targets for Mateer? That's kind of a leap. And then you look at Scadaboo, great in the passing game. But does he get more usage with Tyson hurt? Like, it's hard to get there. I think if you bet these unders, you're in a good spot rather than picking one and going over. I think I like the unders there for all these guys. If I had to take one, like gun to my head, take one, I'd probably say Stovall, just because he's a slot receiver, doesn't play the same position as Tyson. The old guy that hasn't really done a whole lot. We got burned by him a little bit last week by going under, but I just can't see him taking over significant usage with Tyson out.
Yeah. All right. How about the rushing market?
Rushing market, Scadaboo. I don't think we slight under here. I mean, does the Arizona State offense struggle with Tyson out? I believe Iowa State's best. I want to say their best part of the defense is the run defense. Their defense overall has been very good. Let's see. I think actually it's the pass defense where they're incredible. They're 96th in the run game. The numbers are the numbers, but I would be a little concerned about betting an under here just because Iowa State's a top 3 pass defense, bottom 40 run defense. Mm-hmm. Does Arizona State try to take advantage of that? Maybe go insanely heavy on usage with the playoff coming and trying to qualify for that? It's possible. I would avoid this one probably, but if you trust the baselines of where we're at and aren't concerned about the matchup, run defense versus run offense, then you could theoretically go under if you could get yourself there.
I think I'd pass, but
I think I'd pass. Yeah, I was trying to justify it a little bit, but I don't think I would. I just really don't think I would, considering the slate.
Yeah. All right. Any other teams here on the slate that we want to get to here? Have we hit 7?
I think we have 6. No, that's 7. Georgia's on the list, though. We need to talk Georgia. I think I included them, didn't I?
Let's do it. And then nobody spins the dial, volleyball term, like Dillingham. It's a shame we can't get Kyson Brown numbers.
Love Kyson Brown. Degenerate stuff coming here. I played Dynasty college, like fantasy college football, but Dynasty.
How do you?
Yeah, it's there. Don't ask. I picked up Kyson Brown early because he was impressive in fall camp, and he looked good. He looked good in the midseason with Scadaboo out that one time. Yeah, so I can't. There's 3 quarterbacks that I pretty much am going to leave this season hating because they've taken years off my life, hair, and money at times. Quinn Ewers, hate that guy. Cost me money last weekend. Carson Beck, we hit on him a couple times, which was great, but overall can't stand him. And then the other is Riley Leonard. Riley Leonard can kick rocks with open-toed sandals on. Thankfully, we like the under on Beck, so I'm in here. He's really he was unimpressive against Texas the last time. I think it was 3 turnovers or 3 interceptions. You don't have to convince me to go under on Beck against Texas. Texas defense has been insanely good against the pass. They were great against A&M last week. Matchup is great for an under here, so I do like the under on Beck.
I mean, yeah, Carson Beck does not have it. He does not have the mojo. He does not have the sauce.
Did you see he hates watching football?
That's what I want to hear from my quarterback. You know? That's exactly what I want to hear. If I'm an NFL team looking at this, I'm like, get ready to learn accounting, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, out of context, it's not great. In context, he's like, I get too nitpicky. I can't enjoy it because I'm critiquing everything that's going on. Yeah, okay. Whatever, dude. Go kick rocks. We can go to the receiving yards. So the reason why we're not sinking this game is because of ATN, because of the injury there. Mm-hmm. I don't think he plays. I think he's limited at best. So we can take a gander at the rushing stuff here in a second. But the receiving stuff to me is all good. Like it's all like it makes sense. Dominic Lovett, Dylan Bell, Oscar Delp, like these are all unders that I like. Delp being the most volatile. He's that 1 to 2 target. I would be a little bit more worried about like Delp versus like Balungai or one of the other guys we had mentioned because he runs deeper routes. Like Beck will throw it downfield to him. So truly one catch and you're toast. Some of these other tight ends, there's a little bit of a factor of like catch plus how far like was the route. Mm-hmm. Delp is a lot of deeper stuff. So I'd be concerned there. But like Bell and Lovett are possession guys that need volume, and there's a bunch of guys in the mix. Lawson Lucky's been good for them recently. Arian Smith is still a guy. He has no hands, but he still gets plenty of targets. So I like the unders on all these guys. That makes sense. If you go to receptions even too, I think there's a couple of there's one reception line I think that really pops as a good one. So Oscar Delp is definitely the sketchy one, right? We talked about that. Mm-hmm. But Dominic Lovett, under 4.5 to me is nice. I like that personally. He's going to see 5 to 6 targets, and it's not that uncommon to only catch 4 of 6 targets. That's about on par with like your typical percentages. So I like the under there if you can get that at 4.5.
All right, and I'm guessing with the rushing market in this one because of ETN, going to be just difficult to pick anything really.
Yeah, so don't bet anything until you hear the full context, guys. So we have basically Frazier at 40% of usage, ATN at like 17, 18%, Robinson 10%, Cash Jones like 5%. If ATN plays, you could see less to Frazier. It's hard. I personally would avoid just because of the situation of like, hey, this is a true play. This is a SEC championship. You know, like as much as Georgia Tech was a rival, they didn't necessarily have to win the game. They have to win this one in a sense. If they lose that one, so they still had a route. I would be potentially worried about them upping Frazier's usage in this big game, but maybe this is one you can live bet. I have hit unders on Frazier on underdog live betting, where you see they're rotating in a bunch of guys, and then you say, okay, well, if I can get a good line of like 38, 40 yards in the second half, I'm going to take it. But yeah, I would largely avoid this Frazier under.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that is going to bring us to the end of our scheduled programming here when it comes to the games that we want to go over. But Daniel Schleiger here, we're gonna let you slide, man. You snooze, you lose, but we're gonna get you here. He missed when we broke down the UNLV game. Any thoughts on Cam Camper under rushing yards? So let's talk about that.
Receiving yards. So he's the receiver 1 for Boise. This is the rare we like the under on receptions. We like the over on yards. I had talked
Good
about
opportunity for a negatively correlated parlay.
anytime you can do it, you got to, right? So yeah, he's more of a bigger play guy. So that's why you see like the 4.3 for 70. I kind of talked about that earlier. He runs downfield routes. He's a good player, transfer from Indiana. So do like the over on the yards, under on the receptions, which is, I believe, 4.5 at some places.
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to throw your questions in. We can talk about them as well. But while we're doing that, Chris, should Alabama make the playoff?
I mean, no, but we're here. I guess the debate really is like, how much does early season matchups matter? I guess I'm curious, Tom, like if a team looks better and has significant real wins in the last half of the season, does that outweigh the fact that like Bama beat you in week 3 or 4 or 5? Like, does that early season loss to that team matter? Like, what do you think about head-to-head matchups like that?
Well, I think if you're going to go that way, where you say, well, it matters more how they're playing now, cool, put Syracuse in. If that's the metric you want, this is my thing. Any argument you can make for why you should put Bama in, you will, in the process of making that argument, make the argument for why they should not be in.
I don't think they should be in. I think South Carolina, like right now, if they played, I think South Carolina wins. It's kind of hard for me to be like to
see, but that's not a criteria. That's not a criteria for selecting teams.
That's true, but
or at least it shouldn't be. But then again, last year Florida State.
It's hard because, or how are we doing this? It's obviously not the 12 best teams because we have automatic qualifiers and stuff like that. But like, if you're the same record and I played you at your place and lost by 3 or whatever, let's say, like, is it really that bad of a loss? Like, can you really be like, well, you lost to me? Well, I lost at home in week 4. Like, that's my I personally would say just South Carolina. Or even Miami. I think you could justify Miami over.
I think there's no case where, again, breaking down the advanced metrics here of these two teams. This is a really deep stat in there, but it's highly indicative of your qualification statistics. Miami is 10-2. Bama is 9-3. 3 is greater than 2. 10 is greater than 9. Miami could be in the playoff over Bama.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing about like Indiana, like a couple weeks ago, maybe not making it at 11-1. It's like, so basically all we care about is getting SEC teams in.
Yeah.
And I don't even think Indiana is like that great of a team. Like, I think Indiana is deserving, should be in 100%. But like, wouldn't surprise me if they lose by 3 touchdowns in their first playoff matchup. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't be in. Like, we watch the NCAA tournament and crazy shit happens all the time. Like, that's not impossible for Indiana to run the table here. Like, wouldn't blow my mind. But I mean, Florida State should have always made it last year. But in a couple of years, do you think we'll have the same playoff format, or do you think something different will come to be?
I think eventually we'll get to the 68 team format.
Hey, Syracuse has to make it somehow, right?
I mean, like the fact that Miami took a bigger hit. Miami took a bigger hit for losing on the road by by losing on the road to Syracuse, and then you drop them so far down the rankings while not bringing Syracuse up that far, and entirely self-serving, so that you could say that Bama has more wins than this team over top 25.
This opponents. Is the Syracuse show, but it's kind of insane that Syracuse is 2 spots behind UNLV. Yeah, like if you're gonna say Bama should be in over South Carolina because they beat them, like how are you not considering Syracuse over UNLV in the rankings? Yeah.
And granted, UNLV is getting a spot because if
they win, right?
Yeah, it's a win and automatic in. But again, how are you not doing that? But then Miami is getting absolutely hosed here because they're they have the better record than Bama. They have won more games, and the problem with looking at these hypothetical matchups is it's going to inherit such an SEC bias that's going to always be there then, because you're just going to say, oh, well, if these two teams played, the SEC team would trounce them. And it's like, okay, well, is that really true? It's like we did the same thing with the Big Ten back in the early 2000s when Ohio State was making every championship and getting absolutely shellacked by every team that they played, because the Big Ten wasn't actually that good at that period of time. And they were just going off name brand recognition. The SEC is not, even now, the SEC is not as dominant as it was a couple years back, because now that everybody's paying their players, it's
Portals
going to
wide open,
level the playing field a little bit more.
Yeah, there's definitely a level of like SEC. They're ranking SEC teams purposefully.
Yeah,
to like put them in certain spots to help then justify what they want to do at the top. I will say a couple of things. I hope that they don't give us rematches early in the playoffs. Like, I don't want to see Georgia, Texas in round 2. I don't want to see Ohio State, Penn State first round or whatever, right? Like those home games. And I really do want to see home games at Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State. And I want an SEC team to go up there. They'll probably win against these teams, but I do want to see it. Like, I want to see enough of these teams having Big Ten teams go to Florida in January and playing, and then saying, well, having the home field advantage essentially, right? Like, give me a team going up north in the snow on December 20th. Like, that will be fun. That'll be a great matchup. Yeah.
And another thing, there will be a riot at the playoff committee headquarters if Syracuse ends up in the Pinstripe Bowl again.
Dude, they got to mix it up. I saw the worst thing these people do is like no creativity, no imagination. I saw a Virginia Tech playing Vandy in a bowl game. I'm like, dude, they played week 1. Like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah,
that opens the door up to so many lame things. Or like you said, like, don't send the same team to the same place they've played. Like,
yeah. And we play in the Pinstripe Bowl every year. Like, we can't have as good of a season as we've just had and been right back there.
That would be disappointing as like a Syracuse fan. It's like, great year. You should be proud of it. You love the trajectory of what you're doing. Pinstripe Bowl. It's like, well, fuck. Like, how did this happen?
I personally think that let me tell you, if we're in the granddaddy of them all, if we're in the big one, the Pop-Tarts Bowl, I'm there.
Dude, Pop-Tarts Bowl is like low key, high key, a great bowl to be in. It's just a fun thing.
Yeah. They're going to have 3 bowl games, 3 Pop-Tarts this year, dude.
3 Pop-Tarts. Like, what do we think? Did we discuss what we think the third Pop-Tart flavor is going to be, the mystery flavor?
We haven't. It's got to be brown sugar, cinnamon.
Dude, OG, brown sugar. I don't know how you don't put out brown sugar in.
Yeah, unquestionably, that's got to be it here. Colin Sherwin pointing out that he's never James Franklin has never lost a home game at home in December, except him to break through another ceiling. Agreed, because if there's one thing this man cannot do, it is win big games.
Yeah, Colin and I have a good time in Discord talking shit on James Franklin. So we did this morning. It was great.
One of my favorite ones that I saw was Ryan Day is the Nick Saban of James Franklin's.
There we go. There's a combination of names you didn't think you'd hear today.
Yep.
So, yeah, this will be fun. Good weekend of games.
Yeah.
Great props. We were super happy to be able to get basically every team but a couple up there. Catch me in Discord. Ask me questions this weekend. I'll be around, and hopefully can help you guys out with any questions. If I see anything fun that pops up on Fliff, reception lines specifically, they don't typically pop until like the morning of. I'll be sharing those for sure, and let's enjoy some games. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a fun one. And of course, I want to remind you guys, well, first off, coming up in 5 minutes here, I'm going to be joining Derek Carty to talk NFL with the Blitz. So stay tuned on this channel right here. We will be right back to talk NFL week props for the week. But also want to remind you guys that it is the Cyber Monday sale for Unabated, up to 40% off Unabated Premium, $13.88 for an entire year of unabated goodness. It's going to get you everything. It's going to get you all the sports. We've got, of course, baseball season is going to be right around the corner, Chris. We are already towards the tail end of the football season. We've got college basketball getting into full gear now, hockey, NBA. Take advantage. We're going to have, of course, PGA. Going to be bringing in some more sports too. Going to be adding some more stuff to the screen to get you through this summer. Whole bunch of great things for you guys. What is up, my friend? I wanted to say one thing earlier. You had talked about like not knowing the future of the schedule, I wanted to clarify real quick. We don't know the schedule for prop shows for this specific show. For bowl games, we plan on having props for every single one, as long as we can obviously confidently give it. I would just say be on the lookout the morning of the game, that day's games. So we plan on having bowl stuff projection wise, prop wise. The games sometimes start at 11 a.m. So sometimes we'll have to release it early. Sometimes they start at 7. We'll release it in the early evening, right? So just be on the lookout for it. Just wanted to clarify. We will 100% have bowl game stuff all bowl season.
Yes.
So.
And hopefully we will be we should pool our money and get the $20 together it would take to give away a ticket to the Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl.
We should do this like a prize. Maybe we do that one of the shows. We do a prize.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. All right, we'll have to consider that now. In the meantime, that is going to do it for us here. I got to hop over and get ready for the NFL show, so stick around. We'll be back in just a few minutes here. Be sure to check out the Discord, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you are not already a member. But for now, that's going to do it for us. We'll see you next time, which for me is in about 3 minutes. Take care, everybody, and let's cash some tickets. And Syracuse should be in the playoff.